Well, we've had welcome news this month with the ACAR rounds issuing 13,500 beds to the industry and the Medicare funding boost of the general subsidy of $320 million to residential aged care. We'll explore these shortly. I'm Rob Covino, and this is MIA February edition. Well, average daily subsidy was across all three cohorts, with the private operators leading at 187 per bed day, and the industry now tracking at about 179, up 41 cents for the month. Well, we've had an upward trend across all three segments of occupancy, with the not-for-profit still leading at 93% overall. The private operators have come back slightly at 88.9, but the overall industry is traveling still at 91%. Overall claiming activity for the month of February retreated slightly. We did see that all segments reversed by roughly 1%, with the private operators coming back by about 1.3%. Again, the claiming activity is both voluntary and mandatory claims that are being submitted to Medicare each month. If we unpack that further and look at the voluntary claiming activity, so the proactive seeking out of ACFI uplifts, we have seen that it was a three-way tie. All segments performing about 2.7% of their actual claim bases being submitted as an ACFI voluntary claim over the month of February. With the overall activity retreating across all three segments, we have seen the average age of claims growing across all three cohorts. So the percentage that we look at here is claims that are older than 12 months, as well as they're excluding the high claims. Not-for-profits had the highest, about 39% of their overall claims were outside of 12 months, where the private operators were around 27%. But the overall industry is at 35% of overall claims. That grew by about 0.7% of a base over the month period of February. The average rate of ACFI versus the discharge compared to the new admission resident, we also saw that compact slightly. And part of what we encourage providers to consider is to compress this to a $20 a day variance. And we've seen that happen within our data sets. The private operators attracted about 70 cents to $21 per bed day, and the not-for-profits grew slightly but are still traveling at $27 variance on a new ACFI versus departed ACFI claim. The overall industry, though, is sitting at $25 per day variance on a new ACFI versus departed ACFI. Within some of the key statistics in the complex healthcare domain, we did see marginal growth across the pain management 4B claims, with the private operators still leading at nearly 50% of all claims being utilized of a 4B. And the pressure area care claims as well, also growth across all three cohorts, with the private operators still leading at 45% of their claims utilizing the pressure area care procedure. The overall industry, though, for pressure area care was sitting at about 38% of claims have a Procedure 5 claim associated with it in Medicare. Well, the workforce data it was in for February, and we did see a slight growth across both non-care and care hours on a per bed per day basis, with the non-care hours up about 2.88 or 3% for the period, and the care-related hours up about 0.4% for that period as well. If we unpack the care hours, though, we have seen both RNs and enrolled nursing hours up, with a retreat in the AIN hours just marginally. But the agency hours did have some significant growth over the period of about 21%. So I mentioned at the beginning of this program that the government has announced a welcome funding boost to the industry in the form of a general subsidy boost announcement of $320 million to the residential aged care sector. And this is paid through the basic care subsidies. Now, we've been working with a lot of clients around the timing of that and what it applies to. So the basic care subsidies applies to all resident classifications deemed by the ACFI or the RCS save rate residents, as well as your respite bed days. However, it's only for a period between March 20th and ends in June 30th. So we're encouraging clients and organizations to look at their claim base and understand if they have identified individuals that are sitting and waiting submission to get the submissions in before these time period, because it is a limited time that this boost will apply to your resident cohorts. We are also seeking advice as to whether this subsidy boost would be applied to any of the high care respite subsidy incentives that are paid for organizations that achieve 70% of their respite bed day allocations. And lastly, we know you've seen other data. Please seek the link below for the accommodation pricing report data, which is helping organizations achieve broader understanding of their strategic vision, comparative pricing and where they sit, and the overall marketing plan and strategic plan for the organization. I'm Rob Covino, and this is Mirus Industry Analysis, February edition.